good to be here with all of you in this wonderful atmosphere. I want to give honor to the Lord first of all, and give thanks to the Women's Spree here for inviting me to be with y'all at this conference. I also want to thank my mom, who's also my pastor, for being such a great mentor and inspiration in my life. And you don't have to stand, but if you would turn your Bibles with me to Matthew 25, verse 1. I'm going to try not to be too long this morning. Matthew 25, verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out and meet him. Then all those virgins arose, trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps have gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there not be enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily, I say unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man comes. And I would like to talk to you for a little while on this simple question. Are you ready for the wedding? Are you ready for the wedding? I had a dream a couple nights ago that I would like to share with y'all. And in the beginning of this dream, I was in downtown Abbeville where I live. And I was trying to hand out tracts and invite people to church, and Abbeville is a festival town. A lot of festivals go on downtown. And in my dream, there was like a festival that was going on, and I was handing out papers, and I was trying to compel these people, you need to come. You need to come to church. And the dream changed, and I was walking into a government building, and it was huge. And I want to say something right here. I believe God talks to us through dreams.
Right.
I do. I believe he does. And the man seemed to be in charge walked up to me and said, I'm going ahead of myself. It was a huge glass building, and you could see the city around it, and I realized I was in a skyscraper. So I walked to the window, and I happened to look up, and on the building next to us, it said New York Times in big blue letters. And so I figured out, I guess I'm in New York. And a man seeming to be in charge, he walked up to me and said, I heard you're the best in government situations. And we're in a bad bind, and we flew you here to help us. We will pay multiple thousands if you can just get us out of this bind. And I said, no, I don't want your money. And I remember the sky was real dark and gray, and it had a dark maroon color. And I don't know if y'all seen it. Most of y'all probably haven't. Back in the day when they painted war pictures, the sky was always gray and dark with maroon shades in it. And it looked just like that in the dream. And I had an office with windows above a bunch of people, about 200 people in cubicles. And they were working frantically. We were in search of this one certain paper. And we had to get this paper immediately and start emailing and faxing it all over the world. Just maybe it could stop this situation that was going on outside. So I started hollering to all the people and saying, we have no time. We have no time. And I looked out the window, and bombs started going off in the city, not far from where we were. And I said, our building is probably next. We've got to hurry. And they said, our president had ruined everything, and now the new one that is in office is trying to help. And if we don't get that certain paper and get it faxed and emailed out, we will be bombed and all of us would die. And I turned and I saw a relative of mine in the dream. And he was sitting in a recliner, just real relaxed and just eating, not even paying attention to what was going on outside, what was going on inside of the building. And I said, get up and help me, we're running out of time. And he looked at me and was like, oh, please, no. And I said, you got to get up and help me, we really don't have no time left. And I turned, and he just hauled around, and I looked at all the people in the building. And you know, we're responsible for those souls out there. And I guess you could take this as a responsibility for souls. But I looked at all the people and I said, I know where I'm going if anything happens here. But y'all aren't ready. And the man in charge said, I'm a Christian. I said, you're not Christian enough. And bombs started going off. Non-stop. And I looked. And I know that God is speaking to us, the apostolic church today. And I believe that that wasn't only government issues, but that was the church spiritually where we stand right now. And we have little time to work for God before He comes back. Right. You know, war could even start on our American soil. Right. It ain't something we want to think about. That's right. And in my dream, when the man said he'd give me thousands, and I turned him down, it reminded me of the 5 foolish virgins in the Bible wanted to buy the 5 wise virgins oil, but they said, go and buy your own. But they didn't make it back in time. Right. And we can't sell what we have, church. It's not some pre-made solution. We've got to seek to find it. We have to get a walk with God for ourselves. We can't ride mom, dad's coattail into heaven or our pastors. They can't repent for us. They can't get right for us. It's got to start on the inside. And I know we're all humans. We make mistakes. But the best thing is dust off, get up, and keep on walking. We need to look deep down inside and examine ourselves. Because you know, no bitterness is going to enter in on that day. No anger is going to enter in on that day when God calls us. Are we ready? Are we really ready? Is the world passing us by as we play with the petty things in life? Where is our passion to reach the lost? I'm talking to myself, y'all. Where is the intercession and the welling for those who don't even know who God is? You know, I was talking to my first cousin, telling her my dream that I'd had. And she looked up at me and her eyes got real big. She said, I had a dream last night too. And I said, okay. Well, would you like to share? She said, yeah. She said, we were out in the country, in a country type home, and the sky was dark gray. And then my eyes perked up. Because I just told her my dream. This is just weird. And she said, I went and walked outside of this home, and I looked up, and there was this banner-like thing flying back in the sky, back and forth in the sky. And there was a symbol on it. And she had her fiancé look up the flag online and what the symbol meant. And it was a Muslim flag. And it said in the article, when the Muslim flag flies back and forth in the sky, it means a sign of victory for him. And I thought, we have got to get right with God and make sure we are ready to go. Is our garment spotless, white, and clean? Hebrews 12:1 states, let us lay aside every weight that so easily besets us. And this verse is meaning to have constant faith, patience, and godliness. And that word faith meaning literal firmness, stability, to be steady and true. And we need to have faith where would we be if we didn't have faith? Where would we be if someone didn't have faith for us in some of the situations that we're in? And the saying goes, faith is not seeing, but it's believing. It's no matter what goes on in my life, no matter what the situation may seem like around me, I believe it, and that settles it. It's done. The word patience meaning to be long-spirited and long-suffering, to endure. And you know, God never said that our walk with Him would be easy. And He never said that we wouldn't have to fight. And sometimes our long-suffering and our endurance is put to a test. And we think, oh God, you're killing me. This isn't making me. This ain't making me stronger or building my faith. It's tearing me apart. And I don't know how much more I can bear. I don't know if I can take much more. But God promised one thing. He'd never leave your side. And He also said He'd never give us more than we could bear. So the next time that we think we can't take no more, we need to realize that it's making us. It's not destroying us. I was talking to a lady the other day in our church. She come from a pretty rough background. And a lot of bitterness and anger and things in her childhood that she just wasn't able to deal with. And God moved her down there where we are. She's originally from North Louisiana, and filled her with the Holy Ghost and began to deliver her. And she got out for a little while, came back, got out for a good while. And my mom had looked at her before she got out and said, "You're going to serve God out of prison or in prison, but you will serve God." And she said, I walked out of that office and said, that crazy old woman don't know nothing. But God knew. It wasn't 2 years later she was calling us from the jail cell. She had multiple drugs on her, a stolen Cadillac Escalade, and 2 other friends with her. She should have been put in prison, but she cried out for mercy. And God's loving care, He got her out of jail, brought her home, and she only got put on probation for 4 years. And I'm not even telling all the seriousness that was in the situation. But she looked at me, and she said, everything just seemed to be going great in my life. You know, I was on a high spiritually. God was doing wonderful things in my life. And I started asking God, clean me out. Show me things that aren't right in me. Reveal to me, Lord. And I started asking God, she said, to clean me out. So God put the very thing that she could never deal with right in her everyday life. Her father got out of jail and moved in with her. And he doesn't have the Holy Ghost nor believe yet, in Jesus' name. And she said, every day became a battle. She looked at him. She had a split home, divorced parents, a lot of chaos. And so God said, you asked me to show you if there was anything there. And there had been some emotional wounds and some anger and some bitterness towards her father in her life. So God placed it right there in front of her. And she said, I told God, no, I can't. I'm not dealing with that. Don't bring that up. And he said, well, I only did what you asked me. And for a little while here, it has been very much a struggle for her. The devil tried to take her back down the path of life that she was delivered from. And the devil really tried to take control of her life and almost, ruin it, destroy it. But this past Sunday night, that girl come into church. Hey, God knows where you live and He knows your number. He knows your address. He knows right where to hit home with you. And he said, he talked to her and he said, I'm going to do something for you tonight if you'll go to church. And the devil was fighting her on being faithful. and different things. But she came to church Sunday night. And from Sunday night on, it's been a complete difference. Her dad didn't have a job. Always constantly in her home. And she said, God, you got to get my dad a job. Well, she come to church and she said, all right, God, you said you would do something for me today. I want my dad to have a job. I want him out of my house during the day. I don't care if he comes and sleeps at night. I don't want him here during the day. Sunday night, she goes to work after church, after such a wonderful service and being refreshed to God. And she starts looking through the paper and found a number. Her dad's a truck driver. But everywhere they call, due to him just getting out of jail, it's a little situation. And they called these people the next morning. And they said, we love people like you. And we like to give people second chances. So God opened up the job for him. And it's a couple cities over. So he's out of her house all day. And now she said, Lord, since you did that, you can give him a place to live. So that's what we're believing for now. But when you say, oh no, God, I can't deal with it. You know there are situations in your life that need to be dealt with. And I encourage you to deal with them. Be it unforgiveness, bitterness, hatred, envy, pride. The list goes on because we're all human and we fight things. But somewhere there had to be a birthing place for these situations. There had to have been a situation that caused these things to become a part of you in the way you act and think. And I'm speaking from experience. We need to let go and let God have it. We don't need to allow these things to control us. You know, I'm going to get on a personal level with you and give you my personal testimony today. And this is to go to show how we need to keep that wedding garment clean and every spot and wrinkle needs to be out. And this was a spot and wrinkle and a blemish on my wedding garment. 9 years ago, my mom got sick, like she had said last night. And it was a rough few years, but through faith and prayer, my mom was healed. And it was hard for me at that time to be a 10-year-old because I had to take on the responsibilities of everything in the house. Because my mom wasn't able to do anything without severe pain. And I saw her come through this battle of infirmity, and my faith became great. It just gave the extra muscles of what you need on that faith. And then 4 years ago, last month, the greatest battle of my life began. And that was losing my father. In 2006, we found out that he had cancer. And a new battle had begun. And at first, everything looked so great. The doctors were just amazed at his great progress. And amazed at how he wasn't in pain or certain situations. He had stage 4 lymphoma cancer. But somehow I just knew deep down inside. When I was a young girl, I'd lay in bed at night and cry because I didn't think I'd always have my dad. And every time I would look at his hands as a little girl, I'd see him folded in a coffin. And I never realized that God was showing me then. He was teaching me how to hear his voice then. He was showing me I can reveal things to you before they happen. And I never believed that that would become a reality in my life. And every day I would go to our church and I would cry and I would pray for him. And one day I was in the balcony at our church and I was praying. I was like, God, my daddy's in pain. And you know what? I don't think he has to be. And God said, you're right, he don't. I said, okay. And God gave me a revelation that day. He said, there are two kinds of pain. There is physical pain and there is spiritual pain. And I gave you power over them both. And so we went home that day. And Mom laid hands on him, and we rebuked physical pain for him. And can I tell you, with lymphoma, stage 4 lymphoma cancer, you're supposed to be in severe pain. He never had 1 ounce of discomfort, but not pain. And the doctors and the nurses will come in and say, can we give you some morphine medicine, anything, ibuprofen? No, not in pain. You're not in pain? No. around his final day on earth, my brother L.P. Upton out of Sulphur came that day and asked God to take him if he wasn't going to heal him. And God took him that night, February 7th, 2007, 7 days before his 49th birthday. And after his death, I went into great shock and grief so deep like I've never experienced. And I couldn't function. I had no feeling. I was numb. And it had taken a toll on my life that I never expected to come on. And anger began to consume my life and my attitude. I began to fight a battle for my soul. And on top of that, I was in a relationship with a person at that time that had a lot of their own personal battles, like anger, bitterness, and unforgiveness, so on. And it caused me to shut off grieving from my dad, making me more angry because I wasn't dealing with it. And this person didn't want me to talk about my dad or cry or say anything about his passing away, which made me begin to have feelings towards this person and confusion. Because at that time, I needed someone to talk to. I needed someone that I could believe in and trust. And that wasn't happening. And after the relationship ended, the flood of bitterness and anger and aggravation, unforgiveness, and all these things that I could not control began to consume my life and take over. It connected to hurts and situations that I faced from just being a pastor's kid in general. And when hurt, I want to say this, when hurt or offense comes your way, deal with it immediately. Don't let it grow. Don't let it be a spot on that beautiful way. Don't let the infection of anger set in, because it can kill you, be it spiritual or physical. It can. It can take a toll on your life. All that hurt that I'd stepped away came together to destroy me after my dad died. I was angry at him because he left me. I was lost. I went to church. I spoke in tongues. I've shouted and I believed in God. But I had a little seed of anger. And maybe a little bit of bitterness. And it was in the way of me and God's relationship. And through this, I unintentionally started shutting out God. I believed in Him and I loved Him and all that. But you go through things like that, and when you go through situations that hurt you or offend you in any way, it causes your trust factor to be literally cut in two. But somewhere in this battle, I got to the point and I said, God, I am sick and tired of how I am living. And when I really got down to the nitty-gritty and asked God to forgive me sincerely, and I was really ready to let go of the bitterness and the anger and the unforgiveness, that's when something clicked in me and God began healing me. He began freeing me of those things. And God delivered me. He did. He delivered me. And I told God, since I didn't pass that test too well, my dad's dead. There's one of those things we tell God, like, clean me out, show me everything about me. He's going to do it. Because we asked Him to. I said, okay, God, since I didn't pass the test and my dad's dead too well, You will help me. I won't fail You again. And a little over a year ago, I found out that I was expecting. And I was praying at church. And one evening, about 10, 12 weeks into the pregnancy, and I felt this horrible pain in my lower abdomen. I was like, oh my God. So I ran to the restroom. I was like, I knew what was happening. I had miscarried. It was on the same day, the same exact time, the same month, that my dad had died 3 years before. And I started saying, oh, God, no. Not tonight. Not today. Not right now. And then I remember, I promised God, if I was ever in this kind of situation, if you would help me, I wouldn't fail you. And I began to, because of course in these kind of situations the anger wants to rise up. Things we're not used to feeling wants to stir up inside of there. And I could stand before you and say that God took that.
Thank you, Lord.
And it didn't have time to sit and dwell on it. Because when I said, God, with your help, I wouldn't fail you. So you've got to help me. He came through, and he helped me. And I'm sitting here today saying, you know what? God must have had better plans for that child. I later had a dream. Well, actually, that night I come home from the hospital. I didn't get home about 3 o'clock in the morning. I went at 9, didn't get home till 3, found out about losing the baby. And I come home and I had a dream that night that had a beautiful little girl. And when I looked over at her, she wasn't able to walk. She was about 2 or 3 years old and her legs were all crippled up and she wasn't able to walk. And when I woke up, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I had a dream about, I guess, what that baby would have been like. And I told her, she said, you see, God knew best.
Yeah.
That would have been a burden. It would have been a weight. And I know where that baby is. It's in a better place. And you know what? This past year, it's really helped others. I give my testimony at a Help Me Heal conference in Pensacola, Florida. It's a Help Me Heal is part of the UPC. Me and my mother speak at it. And I teach the anger class there, but that day I didn't have no classes, so I testified at the banquet. And I told him about my miscarriage. And there was a woman that walked up to me. And she said, I'm so glad God used you today. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, because my daughter's at the hospital right now having a PNC. And she said, instead of going with her, I said, I'm going to go to this conference because this is really hard. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I understand where she is. I also know of God. And you know, when that lady walked away, I started praying. I said, God, you can touch whatever that is wrong in her body. You can heal her. You can take care of it. Well, a lady from her church just came to our ladies' conference this past month. And she knew that we had talked about the lady. And she walked up to me and she said, you'll never believe. They went to do a DNC and they couldn't. I said, why? It's because they found her. That woman ended up having twin girls, and God healed her.
Hallelujah.
But you don't know who you're helping in this world. We've got to be ready for the wedding. I can't express that. We've got to be ready for the wedding.
Right.
We must lay aside every weight, every weight. We need to forgive and let go of things from the past. Releasing those situations because we don't want to become spots, wrinkles, or blemishes on our wedding gown. We want it to be white, clean. We must strive for perfection. We're not perfect, but we're striving for that.
Right.
And that word godliness, when I looked up the word godliness, it meant one thing. Holiness. We need to uphold a godly standard. In everything that we do. The way we talk, the way we dress, the way we live. You can't live it just because it's what you're told to do. Hey, I've learned that. I'm a preacher's kid. I was born in this. You can't live it just because it's what your daddy said. He's the pastor. It's got to be in your heart. It's got to start deep down inside. It's got to be a burden and a walk with God that we've got to have for ourselves.
That's right.
You have to do it because you love to do it. Because you love to serve God. Because you love to walk in His presence and feel Him when you walk into the church. I feel Him right now. I don't know if y'all do, but there's a sweet presence of the Lord moving in this place right now. We got to walk right, talk right, live right. The world's watching us. You know, their eyes are on us. Whether we believe it or not, God has put us in this world to be lights and witnesses. We must get ourselves ready for the return of the Lord.
Yes.
And the greatest wedding
Yes.
that will ever be. God gave me a song, and in just a second, I'm going to hand this microphone over to my mom. She's going to deal with the remainder of this. But God gave me a song about holiness. I'm going to share it with y'all. But this morning I wanted to ask you if y'all would just stand. These altars are open. And if you have a weight, why don't you come and lay it at the feet of Jesus? If you think that there could be a spot, wrinkle, or a blemish, or something that's not supposed to be on your wedding garment, why don't you just come lay it at the feet of Jesus? So you can be ready for the day when the Lord our God shall return and take His bride away to meet Him. The great wedding in the sky. I want to be ready. Do y'all want to be ready?
Yes.
Do we want to be ready? Do we want to be ready? These altars are open. You can come.